You know, in some of the most famous murder trials in history, the key to solving the case is usually a smoking gun or maybe a secret witness. But in this story, the truth was unlocked by what the victim had for breakfast. It's a wild question, isn't it? But for one woman in what was then called Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, the simple meal she ate just hours before she died became the single most important piece of evidence in a trial that had an entire nation completely hooked. All right, let's get into it. So, our story really kicks off inside a world of glamour, fame, and a whole lot of simmering resentment. We are in Colombo, 1951. A wealthy socialite is found brutally murdered. And the prime suspect? Well, it's none other than her husband, who just so happens to be a national hero. The evidence against him looks absolutely overwhelming, but one tiny, seemingly impossible detail is about to blow the whole case wide open. To really get what happened, you've got to understand the marriage at the heart of it all. And trust me, it was anything but a happy one. So on one side, you've got Mahadevan Sathasivam, known to everyone as the captain. He's this huge sports hero, incredibly charismatic, but his private life was a total mess of drinking and very public affairs. And on the other side, his wife. She was devout, respectable, and this is key, she was the one with all the money. She was living in a gilded cage, and she was just done with it. Things were really about to explode. The captain wanted a divorce so he could run off with his mistress. But his wife beat him to it and filed first. And her alimony demands? They were so high they would have completely bankrupted the famous cricket star. So yeah, this wasn't just a divorce anymore. It was all-out war. So on the day of the murder, things come to a head. And the only other person in the house, the servant, tells a story that seems to absolutely guarantee the captain is going down for this. Okay, so this timeline, this became the entire case for the prosecution. It's incredibly simple and just devastatingly effective. At 9 a.m., the wife has breakfast. 30 minutes later, the servant, a man named William, claims the captain attacks and strangles her. An hour after that, the captain just casually leaves the house. Then, later that day, her body is found. And this right here, this testimony is what sets the public on fire. William, the servant, becomes the star witness. He tells this vivid, horrifying story of a violent fight, a cold-blooded murder, and then being forced by his famous boss to help cover the whole thing up. And to everyone listening, it sounded like the absolute truth. Public opinion just turns on a dime. That charming sports hero image, gone. It's replaced by this picture of an arrogant, privileged murderer who thought his fame meant he could get away with anything. I mean, with a clear motive, a tight timeline, and a detailed eyewitness, the case against Sathasivam looked completely ironclad, open and shut. But the captain's defense team, they decided to fight, not by telling a different story, but by attacking the prosecution story with cold, hard scientific fact. The defense was led by a guy named Dr. Colvin R. De Silva. He was a brilliant, pretty controversial politician who knew that defending a man the public had already decided was a guilty elite could literally end his career. And for their star witness, they didn't just get an expert. They flew in one of the best forensic minds in the entire world, Sir Sidney Smith, all the way from Scotland. And this is the question everyone was asking. I mean, how do you argue with someone who says, I was there, I saw it with my own two eyes? What kind of evidence could possibly beat an eyewitness? Well, the defense's answer was found in the victim's stomach. This is the moment. This is where the entire case turns on its head, and it all comes down to that one simple breakfast. So first, you gotta know what string hoppers are. They're a really common breakfast in Sri Lanka, basically steamed noodles made from rice flour. Now, the critical scientific point here is that they're light, starchy, and your body breaks them down really, really fast. On the stand, Sir Sidney Smith just laid it all out with this devastatingly simple logic. Step 1, we know for a fact she ate at 9 a.m. Step 2, the autopsy shows the food in her stomach was already pretty well digested. Step 3, since we know string hoppers digest super quickly, for them to be in that state, hours must have passed. Which leads to step 4. A death at 9:30 a.m., just half an hour after she ate, was not just unlikely, it was scientifically impossible. His expert conclusion just completely shattered the prosecution's timeline. The murder didn't happen at 9:30 in the morning when the captain was home. No, it happened much closer to noon. And just like that, the whole case collapses. The accusation was murder at 9:30 a.m. The forensic truth? Impossible. The stomach proves it happened much later. The accusation was that the captain was the killer. The forensic truth? Also impossible. Because by the real time of death, somewhere between 11 and noon, the captain had a rock-solid alibi. He was miles away, seen by multiple witnesses. The servant's story was completely destroyed. So, if the captain couldn't have possibly done it, then who could? Well, with the timeline completely changed, all eyes suddenly turned to the only other person left in that house, the accuser himself, the servant, William. The scientific evidence was just undeniable, and it led to a verdict. But the story, it doesn't end there. Because as you'll see, what happens in a courtroom isn't always what happens in the real world. Based on that incredible forensic evidence, the jury acquitted Mahadevan Sathasivam. They had no choice. The case against him was impossible. The servant, William, was later tried and convicted of the murder. On paper, the legal system worked. But for the captain, winning in court meant losing absolutely everywhere else. Sure, he was a free man, but the public suspicion, it never went away. So many people still believed he was a murderer who just bought his way to freedom with a fancy lawyer. His career was over. His name was mud. He eventually had to leave the country, a disgraced hero. And what's maybe even more tragic is what happened to his lawyer. Dr. De Silva, the man who uncovered the truth, saw his political career tank. His opponents used the trial against him, basically saying he used his legal genius to help a rich guy get away with murder. The very public he wanted to serve turned on him for doing his job and upholding the law. And that's what we're left with. The court system said he was innocent, but society decided he was guilty. And in the end, that was its own kind of life sentence. It really makes you think about what justice actually is. and whether a verdict in a courtroom can ever really wash away an accusation. What is the true price of being proven right?